Greetings, hello, and of course, hi there. Well, I've got a small update for you today on the Williams Brothers 1/32nd scale Wedell-Williams Racer. Now, I know I said way back in video number 1 of this particular series that this would be a much quicker build, or I hoped it would be a quicker build than the Hasegawa P12E that I just finished. Please remind me to stop saying stupid things like that. Yes, it does have one less wing and consequently less rigging than the P12E, and yes, I didn't do nearly as much in the cockpit of the Racer as I did in the Boeing product. Nonetheless, I didn't quite count on just how badly this kit fit together, so I've spent an awful lot of time correcting that and trying to get things to fit and to look better and generally just making it look spiffy. So, although I've done a lot of work on it, unfortunately, it doesn't really look like I've done a lot of work on it. Nonetheless, let's crack on and jump into it and all that, and see where we're up to, shall we? If you've seen the previous exciting installment in this series, you may recall me saying something to the effect of, these wings are going to take more work than anything else. And so far, with one exception, that has proved to be the case. The trailing edges in particular were pretty thick and kind of roundy and looked fairly awful, and it's taken a lot of time and effort, a lot of sanding and filing and grinding to get them looking anywhere near decent. But they're not too bad now. They're fairly sharp. I'm fairly happy with those. And I've also started working on the ailerons, so I've extended the leading edge, and here's the one that I've actually almost finished here. And again, the trailing edge is just about where I want it to be, fairly sharp. Compare that to the original one, because of course I had to modify that, straighten the rear edge of that, and once I cut that off, the trailing edge was extremely thick. So this one is looking not too bad, and it fits into the wing the way I want it to, mostly. Like that. So, got to do that one yet, and then of course I've got to reinstate the fabric effect, the rib detail on there, and then I can carry on with those. Now, I have to say one good thing about Williams Brothers anyway. The fit of the wings to the fuselage is actually pretty darn good. So, you know, 1 out of however many pieces. Can't really complain, can you? Anyway, so do a little bit more work on those wings, and then I can glue them to the fuselage. Now, the one exception to the fit of the wings that I mentioned, one thing that is actually worse than the wings is, let's remove that, the landing gear. They were terrible, as you can tell by the amount of Mr. Surfacer and Tamiya putty in there. They needed an awful lot of work. I did my very best to get them to fit together as best as I could, but as you can see, they still needed a lot of filling to get them anywhere looking decent. And I've still got a little bit more to do on them, which I shall do anon. Now, I was hoping that I could finish those and paint them separately from the rest of the airframe, but I don't think that's going to be the case because, surprise, surprise, they don't fit too well. No. But that should be okay because the forward fuselage is mostly just black, as are the landing gear legs and spats. So I should be able to glue them on, and it won't be too much of an issue, I think. There won't be any tricky masking to do to just paint them with the rest of the airframe. So I shall now carry on and carrying on. Alrighty then, here's the completed engine, and I've done it pretty much the same as the engine in the Hasegawa P12E series. The only difference, of course, is that this is the plastic kit engine, whereas in the Hasegawa one I use a resin engine from Vector. But same kind of thing. So I've used evergreen plastic rods of 0.025-inch diameter for the push rods. I did try something a little different this time. Normally I would glue all the push rods in place and then go around and paint them by hand with a brush, which is kind of a pain in the butt. So this time I thought what I'd do is I'd just take a length of the plastic rod, pre-spray it in Humbrol Coal Black, which is stuff right here, I think. Yes, it is. Satin Black, number 85. And that gives a nice semi-gloss finish, obviously, being satin. And once that was dry, I cut all my push rods to length and then glued them in, and not only does that look better, I think, it's also a hell of a lot easier. So that's going to be my modus operandi going forward, and you know how painful that can be. So I've also used the Albion Alloys micro brass tubing again for the spark plugs, and the Pike leader wire that I like so much for the spark plug leads, this stuff right here. A very handy stuff. And that replicates the braided copper covering that they used in the 1930s very nicely. Now, I have added the exhaust pipes, even though I'm fairly certain that once the cowling is glued on around the engine and it's all attached to the fuselage, I think the chances of seeing those exhaust pipes again are slim to pretty much none. Nonetheless, I added them anyway, just in case. I also shortened them quite a bit. They were curved, and the way Williams Brothers would have you do it, they actually butt up right against the inside of the cowling. And I'm fairly certain that wasn't the case with the real aircraft, because they probably would have burned holes through the cowling. Not really a desirable quality. So, yes, I shortened them, and yeah, if you can never see them again, well, who knows. This also will hopefully help with another issue, which I will show you right now, and that involves adding the cowling around here. So there is a nice groove here, as you can see, that the engine fits into quite nicely. Unfortunately, there's a fair gap on the bottom there. I can't say I'm surprised. Anyway, what I'll have to do is file a fair amount off the top of all the cylinder heads all the way around and hopefully eliminate that gap. But with the exhaust pipes the way they were, that would have made it even worse, because they butted up against this part here, so there's no way I would have got that closed. Anyway, that will be my next step. Modifying the engine, hopefully getting a little better fit than that on the cowling. In the meantime, I've managed to get the wings on, and I've used this somewhat elaborate contraption in an attempt to set the dihedral. So I'm hoping that the worst of the fit problems and the refining is behind me, and I can progress to the painting stage fairly soonish. I think, maybe, hopefully. So there we are, that's what I'm up to. I've got the tailplanes on, as you can see. Even those, of course, were not without problems. I've had to leave a little bit of a gap at the trailing edge there, because this hinge line was slightly angled instead of being straight like that. So I'm going to have to fill that in with something. And yeah, as you can see, there is a lot of filling and sanding needed on this. But there's the basic airframe. I still haven't managed to get the landing gear to fit. It doesn't actually go in at all at this point, so that's going to need some more adjusting, shall we say, to get that in. But yeah, certainly a lot closer. Also need to sort that cowling out, get rid of that gap, and then, all going well, hopefully, next episode, we shall commence with the painting. So, it's a quick one today, I'm afraid. As I say, doesn't look like I've done a lot since the last episode several weeks ago, but there's actually a lot of work right here. Anyway, so I will carry on with that. And as I say, in the next titillating episode, I'm hoping we shall get some painting done. And I think after this is done, I'm going to pick something a little more shake and bake, because I keep picking these projects that need a lot of work. Yeah. Anyway, in the meantime, I've also been working on the 72nd scale Brewster Buffalo for the Buffalo project, and that's coming along nicely. Hoping to have that done fairly soonish. But that's going to do it for today. As always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like and share and comment and bark at the moon and eat a brain. All that stuff, you know. Thanks very much, and we'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.